You know, I've really missed being able to just sit in front of a camera for at my my desk and just be able to talk about that freely. I I love this game a lot. I play this game for over 15 years, and it's my hobby. I really enjoy playing this game a lot, and sometimes I just want to be able to sit down and just share my thoughts about certain new cards or certain decks. But it takes me a lot of time because not only, for example, for deck profiles, I need to prepare scripts, I need to prepare lists, I need to go and try the deck, I need to know its matchups, etc., etc. And then when it comes to battles, obviously I need to go and engage someone else to either help me film or to be the opponent, and then I need to check on their deck, check on my deck, and it's just a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes for like every video. And I've not done an explanatory video in quite a while, I think. So it's really nice that I get a chance to just be able to sit down and just talk about the deck again, which is probably why, out of everything that you probably expected, the one thing that I would not do is to talk about a Strike deck set, yet alone Messiah. But I am doing it. I am going to talk about this deck, especially in light of the new tournament promo that just came out and my frank thoughts about it. So this is going to be strictly a explanatory video in which I talk about the promo. I'm not going to talk about the rest of the list. The rest of the list actually doesn't change at all, which is probably why I was really struggling between doing a deck profile and not. But then I realized it made no sense doing a whole deck profile for literally one card. So let's see if I can talk about this guy in less than 5 minutes. Here we go. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Ibuki here. Today I am back to talk about this promo. Yes, so today we're gonna be talking about it. Where this is True Ring of Rotation Planearing, who is one of the forerunners for the May-June promo wave in Japan. This video is gonna come out really late, mostly because I spent a lot of my May straight up just playing in Tokyo, especially for the Legendary Duelist set, but also just because I've been testing those decks, doing the deck profiles, playing a lot of tournaments that side, and I've not really had the time to go out and actually earn my promos. But I have been testing it, so I'm 100% convinced I have at least a basic amount of knowledge to talk about this deck. I'm not a Messiah hardcore main. I'm not like a lifelong, oh man, I love Messiah. I mean, I'm a Catholic, yes, but that doesn't mean I know this deck automatically. But I've been playing this deck a lot recently, especially because the price of Messiah has dropped significantly in 2026, mostly because of the reprints in DZ BTO6, and also because in Legendary Duelists themselves, in the Festival Collection, they reprinted the most expensive card in this deck, which is straight up the Soul Front. So it dropped from like 4,000 yen to 200 yen. So like, I just had to, man. I just had to. So I'm gonna talk about this deck right now. As a whole, the whole state of Messiah is really simple. Messiah, as you famously already know, Messiah is one of the weakest strike deck sets ever, right? Like, I think everyone who's played this deck should have told me, oh, Ahmed, the Messiah deck doesn't do anything going first. Messiah has a huge problem against a lot of things. It's very piece reliant, it's soul reliant, it's this reliant, that reliant. It loses a lot to blind go first, it loses a lot to blind go second. It's very difficult, etc., etc. It really steamrolls only on turn 5 once you have 2 strikes or more, and then a lot of complaining and whining on Twitter and all that kind of nonsense. But the thing is that actually I find that this promo solves a lot of the issues that is written into the cake for Alter Ego Messiah, which is funny because you normally expect these kind of cards to come out in the main set, right? Later on in June, I'm going to be talking more about Strike deck sets, and I can't leak that video because you know what that video is going to be about. But basically, the long and short of it is that, the Strike deck sets as a whole is kind of going kind of an identity crisis, wherein right now, let's be honest, Strike deck sets are just not in a good place. They are in a good place now in this meta in Japan because everyone's playing blind go first. So as someone who's playing these decks competitively, I can tell you that a lot of time, even when you have a G zone, they'll just tell you, oh, you can go second, which is great news for Strike deck set players, right? Like, it's like, yay, I get what I want. But most of the time, you just get curb stomped and killed on the spot. So that is a new problem, which again, that is a problem with Strike deck sets, which is why now winning the die roll or winning your junk and bond, you tend to ask yourself, oh, wait a minute, do I really want to go second, right? Which is something that the Chrono Icon deck actually solves very well. I'll put a link in the description for the Chrono Icon video and the original Messiah video. In terms of the original list that, this deck has barely changed from. But that being said, all that can and will change. We've seen that, especially with 2 Strike deck sets as a whole. We've seen that with Chronojet, we've seen that with Shiranui, especially Shiranui. They have a whole bunch of new tools that they can play, including the world famous Beniga Crow, but Messiah doesn't. Messiah has this, so let's break it down. So I'm gonna get a translation of the skill and edit it right around here. I hope at least. So it should come out right around here. But I'll read to you what it does. Okay, so Planearing, when placed on a Vanguard circle, if you have an Alter Ego Messiah crest, which, you know, is the thing you get when you ride up to grade 1, because the rest of the strike deck sets still own crests, unlike Chronojet. You can counterblast 1, put a card from your drop zone into the soul, and do one of the following. You can either A, draw a card, or B, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Messiah in its card name, you can choose a card with Messiah in its card name from your drop zone and call it to a Vanguard circle. So, yeah, that's already pretty good by all terms and measures. That pretty much is a Vibatsuka the Overflyer, which, you know, for those of you who know me and know this channel, you know that I am hooked, and I mean this, hooked on any card that tells you CB1 draw 1 for a strike deck set. I can link that video, link in the description below for Nightrose, but you will absolutely understand what I mean. The second skill is when it's really attacks, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Messiah in its card name, until the end of the battle, it gets 5,000 power. So going first, right, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, it's already a 15k beat state, which seems really weird because most of the Brown Gate stuff, especially for Messiah, tends to lock itself around very weird conditions, right? Like, Sacrifice Messiah only gets in Generation Break 1, and then you have this girl, which is a Black Dwarf, and she doesn't even gain power herself. She gives 5k to someone else, which is like, alright. But we'll get to those two in a minute. And then the last skill is, when your grade 3 or greater Messiah Vanguard attacks, you can Energy Blast 3 and stand this unit. Now, that's a once per turn skill, but it's not a hard once per turn, which means if you call 2 copies of Planearing, right, one on the left, one on the right, and Alter Ego Messiah, and Alter Ego Messiah attacks, you can stand your 2 front row Planearings, and congratulations, you have recreated Equilibra in the flesh. Now, that is pretty damn cool, right? Like, that is a lot of text on a singular card, and a lot of good text at that. I've heard a lot of people complain about this on Twitter, and they're like, oh, this is a really bad card for Messiah, or this doesn't really do anything for Messiah, but I actually think it does a lot, and I'm willing to explain to you right now. First and foremost, the fact that this guy actually does something on turn 2 is quite insane. Like, come on, the only thing Messiah used to do back then is call Veltrosa and Liel, or play their copies of Mikani, and then you just call it a day. But you don't even need to do that anymore, because just by opening him early, it is a guy. You can CB1 draw 1, which, you know, like I've mentioned in my Vibatsuka video time and time again, that's pretty much the best thing you can do as a strike deck set in today's economy. Secondly, if you have a grade 3 or greater Messiah Vanguard, you can just call a Messiah from the drop zone, which is perfect because this deck is hard built around its Messiah names, which is Sacrifice Messiah, who is a counter charge, and Arrest the Messiah, who is your main multi-attack enabler. So again, the fact that he's not only either a draw, but also a column bard for your most important names, brings to mind another very important promo card, which is, of course, Advent of Genesis, or White Lightning. So this already is pretty good in and of itself, wherein you already get a free Resurrect, as long, not say free, but you get a Resurrect for the most important names of the deck, which frankly, are you going to complain about that? Secondly, and most importantly, because again, this card just keeps getting better, is that it is a restand on turn 3. And that basically means your Alter Ego Messiah turns, when you ride up, you don't just attack with the Vanguard and the turn. You now can multi-attack on turn 3, which is very good, because all of the time when you play Messiah, most of your multi-attack is locked behind your damn strike, because you have to unlock somebody, right? Now you don't have to. You straight up can just ride up, call Planearing, and at least get 4 attacks, 5 if you open to Planearing. That is pretty good, right? Like, come on, like, I understand the number's really bad because it's only a 15k multi-attacker, but the fact that you can do this going first against a grade 2 10k Vanguard is good. And Messiah doesn't have an energy user beyond Saber, who is used to loop like your strike fodder, which is also funny because Saber was also reprinted in this legendary duelist set. So like, it's like the whole deck just became cheaper. It's frankly insane to me that, you know, the guy works so well with what a strike deck set wants to do, right? The fact that you can actually solve the issues of strike deck sets fundamentally without just, you know, rehashing the whole deck and making it into an icon deck, but just giving it a singular card is just crazy to me. It is just insane to me as a whole. And not to mention, just one more thing before I leave this segment, is that you can actually stack the 5,000 point bonus from Lady Bella, right? The power actually stacks. Like Lady Bella gives you unit 5, you can actually use that for 2 of your attacks because Planearing is a restander. Now, I've got a bit out of time, but let's wrap it up. The conclusion for this is very simple. I am really, really excited for the future of Strike deck sets as a whole, and of course the future of Messiah. Thank you, Jesus. It is good to see that in a format where everyone is just going blind go first Aichi-Icon, blind go first Yakuza, blind go first Odium, we are getting better and better tools to either compete them off winning the die roll or straight up just being able to play when the opponent gives you a back foot, which traditionally for Strike deck sets just means going first, right? And most of the time when you fight against blind go first decks, you want to try and take the go first from them unless it's brawlers. The thing is, at this point in time, the fact that you are able to straight up say, okay, I win the scissors paper stone, I like to go first, is crazy for a Strike deck set because the only one who has that capability is Chronojet with the Chrono icon, right? But now that other Strike deck sets like Messiah are able to step forward and do that, it's crazy. I am really grateful that they are printing cards like this. This is the type of design we want. We don't want more of the old nonsense where they just either make the same effect stronger or they make the same effects later. I want weaker effects earlier, if that makes sense, because there is no other way for Strike deck sets to compete in terms of speed beyond direct support or just throwing them in full of generics. And the problem with that is that most of your generics are either 8,000 yen or straight up just do not work with a deck that's in archetype like Messiah. So the fact that Messiah of all people is the Strike deck set to get this promo is really good because Messiah, you know, famously does not have a lot of support. It's not like Shiranui, right, where he abuses all the stealth nonsense and abuses all the Dragon Empire nonsense, and then when you ban something, he just swaps you something out. Messiah never had that liberty, right? Messiah has never had that. Messiah had like the Blitz engine in what, BTO 9 with like Lubetzal, and then we lost that immediately in like 2 weeks because of the restriction to Shiranui. Like, Messiah has, for lack of a better word, always needed something to play in the early game, which is, you know, they used Ice Fishing, they used Veltrosa and Leal, which are all just generic, and that's fine because they were decently priced generics, but like, it sucks because you can't really do things with the in archetype, and now you can. And that just makes me really glad. So honestly, I'm just glad I got to be able to talk about this. The deck list is exactly the same, okay? It is exactly the same as it used to be. I will put the link in the description below, but it has not changed. It's just an addition of these 4 cards. And that is really how I'm going to end this video by saying, I'm going to talk about Messiah just for 1 more minute, and that this deck has gotten insanely cheap because of the amount of reprints this thing has gotten. Like, straight up at this point, this deck is actual peanuts. I managed to rebuild my Messiah deck for like, what, 4k yen, and then these promos cost me another, what, 4k yen, so it was like 8k yen for like the whole deck, including the G-Zone, because the G-Zone cards are now only like 50 yen a piece. It was like really easy. I don't know about the English prices, but I can assure you it shouldn't be that far off this price measurement because Messiah isn't winning anything, right? Messiah is not a new meta deck or anything. But I really am glad that this is the path that Messiah is taking. So that being said though, another Strike deck set that I own and love a lot, we have a lot to talk about that one later, and that one ain't doing too well, but this one I am very well pleased. So really, if you are a fan of Messiah, you owe it to yourself to go to your locals, beat up children. I'm just kidding, don't beat up children, but go and earn these promos because they are really crazy for the deck. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.